Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. It's Monday and you know what that means. It's time for the tournament review. The SCG Games Open went to Providence, Rhode Island this past weekend, and we're here with the top 16 and to look at some of the interesting decks that went the distance. After a lengthy hiatus, Blue Devotion is back, winning the Open under the command of Ross Merriam. Now ordinarily one would assume the deck is the same old thing, and for the most part you'd be right. However, this deck ran a 9th 1/1 flyer for 1 blue after the playsets of Judge's Familiar and Cloudfin Raptor. We looked at the list and wondered, aloud, why he'd pick Gale Rider Sliver over Hypnotic Siren as that one of. Then it hit us, because it's the funniest synergy in the world with your 4 Mutavault. With Gale Rider Sliver out, an animated Mutavault gets flying since it's every creature type, and that includes Sliver. Anyway, second place. Second place went to Gino Batista running Rad Aggro. The deck is something of a throwback to the early days of Standard with Theros. The plan remains the same. Curve red heavy aggressive creatures into Fanatic of Mogus, then use said creatures and some burn spells to finish off what's left of your opponent's life. Aggro veterans like Rakdos Cackler, Burning Tree Emissary, and Boros Reckoner are joined by newcomers like Eidolon of the Great Revel and Searing Blood. The decision appears to have paid off since this is far from the only aggro deck in this top 16. Next up is the blue-white control deck in third place, and as you might expect, there's nothing too crazily different here. That said, there were some interesting decisions made in the list. First off, Aetherling is back as an alternate win condition, and Elixir of Immortality is out. We suspect part of the reason for that is the 3 of Planar Cleansing. Yeah, we know. But Planeswalkers are all over the place, and there's a fair bit of enchantment-based removal between Detention Sphere, Banishing Light, and Chain to the Rocks. And the stack runs none of those enchantments, as you might have guessed. We saw something in fourth place that we've been hoping to see more of, Black Aggro. Like in the black-white deck we looked at last week, Gnarled Scarhide, Spiteful Return, and Heralded Torment give the deck a variety of options throughout the game. Outside of those, Rakdos Cackler, Tormented Hero, and Thrillkill Assassin are just good old-fashioned beatsticks. Mogus's Marauder gives the deck an extra push against anything not running black, since each creature gives you at least 1 devotion to black anyway. A 1-of Deathrite Shaman gives the deck a little extra reach against midrange and control, and some life gain to slow down opposing aggro strategies. The deck's 12 spells are there to neutralize threats that can't be dealt with by turning creatures sideways. Bioblight, Hero's Downfall, and Ultimate Price can take out pretty much any creature among them. Thoughtseize will deal with anything the other removal spells can, so long as it beats the other card to the punch. In fifth place, we had a green-red monsters deck, and 6th went to Jund Monsters. Sadly for us, neither of the two ran anything particularly new or interesting compared to what we've seen before. A black aggro deck very similar to the one we saw in 4th took 7th place. It lacked the 1-of Deathrite Shaman, and a few of the numbers were different, but overall it's the same plan. Green-white aggro followed in 8th, looking like the one we saw last week, just without the new Ajani. This made Banishing Light and Mana Confluence the newest cards on the list. Still, decks with 4 Boon Satyr are going places again, and that makes us pretty happy. Moving on to the back half of the top 16, we have Red-White Burn taking 9th. The decks we saw last week had started to use Wild Guess for card advantage, but this one runs 2 Chandra Pyromaster instead. You may lose a turn on casting her where you can only use her +1 effectively, but after that you're getting an extra card every turn free and clear until the hero's downfall comes. 10th place went to green-black aggro. Now we like Boon Satyr and we like Heralded Torment, and this deck has both, so we're off to a good start. Also interesting is that there's a playset of Colonian Tusker in the deck. Other 4-ofs we haven't seen in a while. Dragmangler, Lotlith Troll, Reaper of the Wilds, and Experiment 1, at least outside of green-white aggro. A pair of Scavenging Ooze finishes out the creature list. The 8 spells are basically there for removal. Abrupt Decay and Ultimate Price just kill things, plain and simple. Golgari Charm can take out small creatures, or knock out a pesky Banishing Light or Detention Sphere. In this deck, though, it's also a bit of insurance against sweepers. Supreme Verdict coming down, just regenerate all your dudes. 11th place went to another green-white aggro deck. This one was more or less the same as the other one we saw before, just with a little more Bremas. Literally, there was one Bremas in the deck. There was like just one. Anyway, moving on, we had Black Devotion in 12th, which is just the same old thing. At least it's only taking up one spot now instead of a quarter of them. 13th place went to a deck that was registered as green-red monsters, but does have the black splash for Abrupt Decay and Dreadbore. Next up is Red-White Devotion in 14th. Like the red deck in 2nd place, the game plan is to curve red-heavy creatures into Fanatic of Mogis. But this deck adds white and runs Iroas God of Victory and Perforos God of the Forge. It also runs some bigger creatures, mainly the aforementioned Iroas and 4 Stormbreath Dragon. The burn spells are now Mizia Mortars and Boros Charm, the latter of which also serves the important purpose of protecting your creatures. Chain to the Rocks does the job of taking out your opponent's creatures. Hammer of Perforos gives your creatures haste while also giving you something to do with your extra lands, provided you have any. Granted, that may happen once you get a Nykthos down. 15th place went to a blue-white control deck more like what we're used to seeing lately, Elixir of Immortality, Detention Sphere, and so on. And rounding out the top 16 was Junk Midrange, which seems to have dropped Archangel of Thune and Blood Baron of Vizkopa since we last saw it. So that's our top 16. Next weekend, the SCG Open comes to Columbus, Ohio, and there's a standard Grand Prix in Moscow. I don't know about you, but we're pretty excited to see what comes out of Russia. As always, subscribe below for the latest, most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Manosaurus, I'm Wedge, thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.